Hello, Melissa Crook here with the F.E.E.L podcast. Happy to have you here with us today. Here are your ways to engage with our discussion with Anat Peri, Reset and Reconnect, Nervous System Healing and Emotional Mastery. Take steps to practice resting your nervous system. This could be mental, physical, or sensory grounding. An example of this physical grounding would be clenching your fist tight and releasing it, noticing the difference in the sensations. This is just a little bit of a peek into what's coming in our discussion with Anat today, but they can give you some really practical ways to reset your nervous system sitting at your desk, at your car at a stoplight, if you're stuck in traffic, waiting to pick up kids from school, whatever it may be that you're doing. It's very applicable, something you can do in the moment. We hope you find this helpful and supportive as you get ready to engage with this new episode with our friend Anat Peri, Reset and Reconnect, Nervous System Healing and Emotional Mastery. Thanks so much for being with us.
Hello and welcome to the F.E.E.L podcast this week. I'm here with our new friend, semi-new friend. I feel like I've known Anat already for a while because as soon as I met her, I'm like, let's get you on a panel. Let's get you scheduled for being on the podcast. And then we figured out that we had a common denominator in a woman, Lou Agan, we're going to both be working with her in the late spring, early summer on a seminar she's doing. And so just kind of a small world that's brought Anat and I together. We officially met via our friends at Podmatch. We found all these common denominators since then. And I'm not really surprised by that because our work is super aligned. What she does is super aligned. And she and I we all have our own stories, but we've also got some common denominators in our stories. But she's got a really special and unique way of helping women. And she's very passionate about it. So we're going to get into that today, but we're going to get to know her and how she got here. And one of my favorite things when I asked Anat about her character traits, she's like, oh my gosh, I'm all over the spectrum. Sometimes I'm really serious and sometimes I'm really silly. I'm like, yes. Because we are nuanced individuals and there are different scenarios and situations that will bring out the different parts of us. So we can be both silly and serious, and it may show up at different times. And I love that. So Anat Peri, welcome to the F.E.E.L podcast.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
I'm so excited to have you here. I am too. You're going to have so much to say about all of this. All right, my friend, let's get right into it. Confidently, knowing that you are worthy of prioritizing your self-care. Talk to me about your self-care journey and knowing the importance of prioritizing that in your life.
Yeah. So self-care, I think when most people hear that, they're like, oh, take a bath, go for a walk. And I'd say, yes, I do that. But for me, self-care is really about learning to say no. Mm-hmm. And I had to learn to say no to more things and to start to pay attention every moment to where am I speaking from? And what I mean by that is most of my life, I dissociated from my body.
Yeah.
Not aware that I was dissociating from my body and just being a talking bobblehead, talking really fast without needing to even breathe. Kind of like that. So if you ever talk really fast, really, really fast, you'll notice that you're in your head and you're not really using your breath. And that was me. And what that did to my nervous system is that it put me in this constant heightened state, unaware.
Sure.
And then I'd wonder why after a podcast interview or a coaching call or any conversation where I'm using my voice with people, or even just sitting on my computer working, dissociating from my body, not breathing enough. Why by the end of the day, I would feel like I just want to be a blob on the couch, like spent always. And so when I connected with my body again, I realized this is the self-care.
Yeah.
It's a learning to slow down and speak from my body, like drop my voice down into my heart space instead of being a talking bobblehead. And then also being a chronic, or pastime people pleaser, always learning to say no, learning to honor the amount of time that I have, and really checking in with, am I giving from a full cup or an empty cup right now? Because I love to give. I mean, I'm a coach, I'm a healer. Of course, I love to give. And I love to nurture my husband, people around me, all that. Like, it's a gift. And one of the things I've had to learn to make sure of is that I only do it when my cup is full. And to learning to say no, as much as I want to give, and I could sort of be like, no.
Yeah.
So those are my like self-care practices.
Yeah. I love that. I understand. I relate so wholeheartedly with this. I grew up in a house full of boys and men, and I was just trying to get my voice heard. And so I completely relate to the disassociation from your feelings. There were no room for that. I was just trying to keep up and be heard. I also completely relate to that ability to just be in hyper vigilant mode all the time. I'm not going to miss anything, not going to disappoint anybody. No one's going to be let down by me. But then like collapsing on the pillow at the end of the day, because my body, my body was so physically spent. And when I finally started getting in touch with my body, probably started that, let's see, what year is it? 5.5 years ago, where I really got intentional about that, I was shocked at all the things my body was experiencing and all the messages she was sending me that I disconnected from. And I love what you say, and we've heard this, and it seems to be a theme that comes up regularly, which I love because women need to be reminded about this repeatedly every day. No, period. No, period.
Exactly.
That's not mean. That is in the best of your self-care. And honestly, if you're not showing up for someone with a filled cup, you're doing them a disservice as well. I mean, nobody wins when we do that. Did you have a point in life where you were able to make this connection? This is not working for me anymore.
Oh yeah. Yeah. And believe it or not, it was just second half of 2022. So that goes to show you, even though I've been in this industry for 20 years, been coaching, that there's layers to it, even with our own self-growth. Second half of 2022, it's just like in survival mode in my business after firing my CEO. So going through a lot of business challenges, and being in that go mode, and thinking that self-care was taking the bath or going to the spa or laying on the couch, and realizing that it wasn't self-care, it was self-repair. It was like, I'm wrecked right now. And so it's always like using those things to repair, only to do it again to myself the next day.
Yeah.
And I hosted a women's retreat. And most of my retreats are co-ed. They're not about, the feminine and women and things like that. They're, just deep healing work, which obviously includes some of that.
Yeah.
But for some reason, my girlfriend and I decided, let's host a women's retreat. Like, make it all about the juicy feminine, like the full spectrum of it, from like, the sex stuff to the self-care stuff to all of it. And we hosted it in right outside of Cabo San Lucas, Mexico, in this beautiful retreat center. And I brought my laptop with me because I was like, okay, every day, the way we worked out the schedule, there'll be like a 3-hour gap, middle of the day, where, people could just go do whatever they want, blah, blah, blah. So that's what I'm going to work and get more shit done. I did not take my laptop out of my bag the whole trip. It was the biggest reset for me. The environment just pulled me into just receive, just nourish. And it reset my nervous system that I had that aha moment and realized, oh my God, I've been operating out of complete like go, go, go mode.
Yeah.
Even thinking that instead of enjoying Mexico for a 3-hour break midday, that I'm going to sit on my computer poolside. And I came back from that retreat different than I'd come back from. I think by that point, I'd led about 30 retreats over the past 10 years or 5 years. And I came back so filled up. My husband was shocked because he's been with me for years. And usually I would come back from retreats like depleted, give me space, like agitated, like all the things, empty, dried up. And I came back so juicy, so lit up, so fulfilled. And that was the beginning of me starting to recognize that I can be like this every day. I just have to learn to balance, to say no more, and to slow down and enjoy the pleasure of being in my body.
Yeah.
So that was the moment. That was the and I realized, I was like, wow, that women's retreat, that was for me. Like, even though I let it, I was like, I needed that. And now, all the retreats I lead after, I always balance. I always feel amazing in that way. And we still wrap up the retreat every time I come home from a retreat, because most of them I lead here in San Diego.
Yeah.
We drop people off at the airport and we go right to the Korean spa. So don't kid me. I still like my, 4 hours of self-care at the Korean spa. Yeah.
But what a recognition though. And what, an ability to really like shift and see like, hold on a minute here. And I love that idea of being present, being and taking in the settings around you and finding those places that refresh you and renew you and allowing yourself just to be in them. We are just in go, go, go mode all the time. And I think sometimes for those of us that create content to help others with these things, we're so close to it sometimes we forget to utilize it ourselves. And like, hold on a minute.
Yeah.
This is for me too.
Exactly.
And me first, so that I can show up refreshed and renewed. Thanks so much for sharing that. I think that's going to be so helpful for women to hear. Also, because so many women hearing this are going to be like, yep, me too. Oh, wait a minute. That's the clue. That's the hint, because our bodies are sending us signals all the time. We've got to be in tune to them to receive them, or they get missed and we just keep charging along until something hits us, and that we have to, because you said something so important earlier. You were doing self-repair instead of self-care. That's a big difference.
Yeah. A lot of people don't realize it. I didn't realize it either.
Yeah.
I think we also don't. You get so used to being in that hyper vigilant state that it becomes your norm.
Yes.
That you think you're calm, you think you're relaxed, you think you're good, because it's become so familiar that it's like, oh, this is normal, until you have an experience of down regulating your nervous system, being like, oh, no, this is rest.
Yeah.
Oh, I got it. Yeah. So now I have, it's a big part of my work is really around the nervous system. I have a freebie on my website called Cultivating Safety Meditation, which is to start to retrain ourselves to build that capacity of safety of being in our body and down regulating our nervous system. So it's like you do that once a day, and you'll start to notice the rest of your day when you're operating outside of your window of tolerance.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
great.
So good. We'll talk about that more in a minute. But I want to talk next about confidently setting boundaries. We've already mentioned the no period. You talked about how now you come off a retreat, you head to the Korean spa, you care for yourself, you tend to yourself, you block out that time. This is an important, I think that what people don't realize with boundaries is that it's part of your self-care. It's part of your plan for wellness, and how you go about that. You can communicate these things kindly, but firmly, because and around your time, around who you surround yourself, around what you say yes to, taking that pause. So talk to me about how you got to that understanding of the no.
Well, my understanding of it came from seeing how much I was a yes person, how much
Mm,
I abandoned myself,
yeah.
physically and emotionally, just not listening and wanting to please and take care of everyone.
Mm-hmm.
And it's learned. It's learned behavior. Um, my mom always prioritized us. My dad is the sweetest man and just wants to please. So it's like both parents
Mm,
modeled that to me.
yeah.
My dad is, amazing man, but a workaholic, loves what he does. And so it's like, oh, learning to just like prioritize that over rest, like keep going. There's gifts to it, as an
Mm-hmm.
entrepreneur. I'm like, all right, like I know how to to hit the grind and keep going. But having to unlearn that, having to see
Mm-hmm.
where my mom poured everything into us, but sometimes and got so fulfilled by it, but
Sure.
sometimes forgot about herself. So having to unlearn those behaviors and then learning to literally use the word boundary.
Mm,
I think a lot of times when we mean boundary, we don't necessarily use the word with people. We'll
mm-hmm.
say, I prefer, or I don't want you to, or I would like. And so people see it more as like a suggestion, a preference.
Mm-hmm.
But there's so much power when someone hears the word, this is a boundary for me. I mean, none of us want to be the person that crosses someone's boundary.
Right.
And so when you hear it, it's like this light bulb of like ding, ding, ding. Okay, I'm going to take serious whatever they say after this. This
Yeah.
is not a preference. This is a boundary for them. So
Mm-hmm.
I I'm going to really be mindful of that. So there's real power in that, and getting that boundaries are your friend.
Mm-hmm.
That having boundaries are your friend, and that your boundaries are very much correlated with your values. And so if you're
Yes.
not sure what your values are, look at the things that you would have boundaries about. If you're not sure where to set boundaries, look at the things that you value. And so it's also come from me really valuing my self-care, right?
Mm-hmm.
Valuing my well-being, valuing my happiness, valuing my satisfaction. And I'm like, oh, well, if I really value these things, then I have to set these boundaries. And to recognize that boundaries aren't just with other people, they're also with yourself.
Yeah. Yes. Yes. I think that's such an important thing. I'm so glad you said that. Boundaries with ourselves. I'm going to, working from home, I have to set clear boundaries with myself of like, okay, I'm stepping out of work mode and into my life mode. I used to do a thing when I first started doing it where I'd go in the garage. This started happening during COVID because I'd never worked from home before. I'd get in my car, drive around the block, drive back into the garage, just to tell my mind and my system that I was walking out of work. I was walking back into my home. Sometimes it was a walk. It wasn't always driving. Now I'm able to just kind of step outside, go out, look outside, go out, get the mail, go look at my pool, whatever the case is. And to kind of just let myself know. So I'm so glad you brought up the boundaries with yourself. And it's just that when you say it in that way, if people like, oh, this is something I need to honor. This is not something she's hoping I heard or suggesting I might consider. This is a way of honoring her. She's serious about this. So thank you for pointing that out. I think that's really important distinction, for us to make. I love that. All right. Taking care of our emotional health, mental health, physical health, spiritual health, soul health, which we're going to get to the soul piece in a minute. This is what your work is about. Like, this is really embodies all of that. You mentioned it some already, that working with the nervous system, that recognition of the reset, the power of not operating up here and getting, at all times, because I understand what that means. And when I started realizing I was here, I started the day here and then I went here instead of starting the day here and maybe creeping up here before I reset myself. My nervous system was kind of a little bit wigged out because it was used to me showing up in a certain way. And so I really had to, you talk about unlearning and relearning to get to teach your system and yourself the healthier new habits of like, it's safe here now. You mentioned safety. I think that's such a huge part of this. It is safe here now. You're in a safe space, a safe environment. It's okay to come down. You don't have to live in waiting for the shoe to drop mode. You don't have to people please to be valued and accepted and loved. So talk to me about this evolution of your work into this space, because this is key.
Yeah. My work started out really being about unlearning what we learned from childhood.
Mm-hmm.
And then it went deeper to understanding that it's not only unlearning the behaviors and the beliefs that we inherited from mom or dad, but it's also learning to come out of our survival strategies and learn to tend to the inner child. And people hear the inner child and it's like, well, what exactly is that? Well, the way I like to define it is, yes, it's two things. It's the younger version of you that had those experiences that formed your personality, that formed your strategies, all that. But it's also the part of you that feels. So all your emotions is your inner child. Whether you are happy, excited, elated, calm, or horny, or disgusted, afraid, angry, sad, disappointed, all of those is your inner child. It's your inner being. And, it's your energy. Your inner child is your energy, your frequency. You've heard this, that your emotions are just energy in motion. The problem is that we have forgot to allow those energies to be expressed, to be in motion. And we've turned into a society, predominantly, most people, that suppresses certain emotions. And that causes a lot of stuck energy, and that causes a lot of lack of safety, because and it also desensitizes our nervous system for these quote unquote sensations, the sensations of the energy. So now here we are as adults saying, oh, I don't want to feel this. This is so uncomfortable for me, or this is so unfamiliar to me. And that's because you have desensitized yourself from it. It's not okay.
Yeah.
It's not okay to feel this way. And we have forgotten how to feel. We think we're feeling, but we're actually thinking about the feeling. Or we're numbing the feeling, or we're judging the feeling, or we're talking verbally talking about a feeling, or we're stuffing a feeling down. We're doing anything but actually feeling it in a way that it expresses itself, in the way that the energy could actually move. And our nervous system can metabolize that energy and learn it again. And so the lack of safety compounds because your nervous system is always working for you. It's always listening for safety or threat. I mean, thank God. Like,
Yeah,
thank God
absolutely.
in its capacity in that way. The problem is that we've created so much false sense of threat. We're not being chased by a tiger, but we will say, I don't want to feel this way, or I can't feel this, or this is scary, or something's wrong. And that reaction is the same to our nervous system.
Mm-hmm.
And it's basically signaling to the nervous system, this is not safe.
Mm-hmm.
So your nervous system says, okay, well, then I'm going to protect you from it.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to protect you from it by putting you into those heightened states of fight, flight, freeze, or please.
Mm-hmm.
So mine were always to either freeze, right? Not breathe, just freeze, or please. And so as we learn again to express our emotions,
mm-hmm.
to feel what is there fully, what we're doing is we're letting the nervous system know, oh, there's no lion behind door number 2. Come look with me. This is safe. And let me express it so that you can learn this again, that the nervous system can learn this frequency so that next time it happens, it metabolizes it so fast.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the nervous system, your nervous system responds 10 times faster than your mind does.
Wow.
So this is why thinking positive, having good intentions is not enough.
Yeah.
Because something happens, something gets triggered, and your nervous system responds in 0.2 seconds. And it reaches your conscious awareness in 2 seconds. So for you, it's really fast.
Yeah.
But there's a gap there.
Yeah.
And I mean, thank God for that, which is why if you're driving in a car and somebody slams on their brake and then suddenly you need to slam on your brake so you don't run into them. Yeah, your body's able to respond before you're even like, oh, brake. It's not your fault. It's not your mind. And so the power of it is that when we learn again to express our emotions and train our nervous system for that energy, the next time that emotion gets triggered, it doesn't have to reach your conscious mind where it actually interrupts your present moment. It metabolizes it quickly because it's familiar, it's safe, so it knows what to do. And if you look at certain people are comfortable in chaos and certain people will freeze in chaos. I had a friend that grew up with a lot of, chaos in her household and a lot of all that growing up. And so it was something that she was very comfortable with. Her nervous system knew what to do and things like that. And her boyfriend grew up very, very safe, very vanilla household, right? Very protected. And they went for a hike, and this person fell off the bike that was on the hike and injured themselves and like broke their arm or something like that.
Yeah.
And my girlfriend said she ran right over to help this person. And her boyfriend froze.
Whoa.
He was like, ooh, you. And so again, it's all because what is already programmed as okay for your system, as safe for your system. If it's safe for your system and your system knows it, it's going to take care of it quicker than you'll even have to think about it.
Yeah.
So it's not about never feeling these feelings again. Like, I don't ever want to feel fear again. It's about being being able to express fear, which was one of mine, so much so that, and it was specifically as an entrepreneur around the ups and downs of business.
Yeah.
Where we have moments where we fear money's not going to come in and we're going to lose it all and all this stuff. So having to program it in, be so comfortable with fear, expressing fear, feeling fear, that I'm not on the roller coaster anymore. I'm not taken for the ride.
Yeah.
And it's not that fear doesn't come up for me in moments in my life or in my business.
Mm-hmm.
It's that I don't have to think about what to do with it.
Yeah.
It's already processed and handled, and I'm able to just keep being present, keep moving through with whatever's in front of me.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. This is the best description of how this works within us. Thank you so much. That was a master class because it really makes it tangible. Oh, that makes sense to me. Because one of the first things when I was reading your bio, when I got a notification that we were a match on Podmatch, I read about the fact that you talked about one of my pet peeves in life is and people have heard me talk about this before, is the gratitude journal is the solution to all of our how we feel woes. And it's just like, no. You're skipping a whole bunch of steps here. We've got to be able to process and move through and feel and acknowledge all of our emotions. And we have to take the titles off of good and bad. They're clues. And knowing how to process them and feel them is a superpower, but it's within all of us if we're willing to acknowledge, accept, and do this work that lets our nervous system know. And it just allows, and then it allows us to show up authentically. I don't have to try to, think my way to it because I'm naturally, authentically living it out because I'm allowing myself space to feel, process, move through. My system knows. And so it's not this orchestrated thing that's temporary. It's truly coming from within me because I approach my emotions without judgment, without curiosity. When something new comes
it's
up,
easier.
Yes, so much easier.
We overthink it.
Yes.
We overcomplicated it. Complicate it. Gratitude is great, and thinking positive is great, but not on its own.
Right.
I see them as like beautiful seeds that would blossom into roses that you could buy at, the Home Depot Gardens store. But if your garden is full of weeds, there's no room to plant that.
Yeah.
And so it's useless. But if you learn to clear the energy that is stagnant, that is stuck, to get those emotions moving and flowing and a part of who you are, that anytime they arise, your nervous system just says, okay, cool. Yeah, let's process it. Let's digest it. Let's metabolize it and let's keep moving.
Yeah.
Then there is room for that gratitude practice. There is room for manifesting and visualizing all the great, beautiful things that you could think of.
Yeah.
But the key is to that. And as people ask me, like, how do you know your nervous system is metabolizing things? The nervous system metabolizes in ways like tremoring, like your body shaking, hot or cold flashes, temperature changes, yawning, burping, your eyes tearing, or crying, or, needing to have that big cathartic scream or really dance and move the body. Those are all the ways that your nervous system starts to metabolize and discharge the excess energy.
Yeah. Thank you for explaining that, because that was the next thing I was going to ask. And I will tell you, when I started allowing space for myself to do this a few years ago, I remember my therapist telling me, you're going to have moments where you're just going to be crying and you're not really sure why. It's because your system finally feels safe enough to release this grief, this sadness, that your had done a lot of inner child work. I had spoken to my inner child at different phases in her life. I'd let her know I was here for her. I'd let her know it was safe, that I had this, that she didn't have to run the show in this way anymore. And I had weeks and I would just sob, and my husband would just hold me and I would feel safe. And it was so that was the clue to letting me know that it was finally releasing. It was finally moving through. And so I think that's such a great distinction, that metabolizing, that's such a great word for letting people know that it's been processed and that it's releasing. I think that's just so powerful. And I know for me, having safe people around me, like my husband is a safe zone for my nervous system. If I feel, so I'm very lucky. I'm so lucky that way. I'm so thankful. I have so much gratitude for that and appreciation for that. But I also know if I'm working through something and I'm feeling an anxiousness coming up and I'm getting curious as to why this is coming from and why I'm feeling unsafe in it. I can go and I need a hug, and he can wrap me up and my body can settle, and it allows me to do that. So also finding spaces, places, people that if you feel something coming up, and to get curious and be in that space with that person, get that hug, get in nature, get whatever that space, your bedroom with a candle, and creating that safe space to allow it to happen.
Agreed, 100%. I do want to say something about crying, because some people with certain learned survival strategies are leakers, are criers. That's me. And there's a difference between metabolizing, discharging, crying, and indulging. And like crying like you're drowning in it from a place of hopelessness. And so you really want to be mindful of, are you adding wood to a fire that you actually want to put out? And this is where understanding that the mind and the body have to work cohesively together. Like if you are upset about something, but then you're also telling yourself all these other stories that are made up that only make you feel more upset, then it's going to feel never ending, and it's not going to feel like a release. It's going to feel more like you're drowning in hopelessness.
Yeah.
So really being mindful of how we speak to ourselves, which a lot of times, for a lot of people is they put themselves down, they judge themselves. And so there is a need to look at the root of that, to look at like, where did you learn to talk to yourself that way? Did mom talk to you that way? And now you learn to treat yourself that same way, and to start to shift how you talk to yourself. And this is why I always like to give the metaphor of your inner child is your emotions. And so anytime you feel something, especially for people that tend to be hard on themselves and judge themselves and make up all these negative stories about themselves, especially for them, anytime you feel something, I want you to use the visualization of picturing your younger self walking into the bedroom and telling you, I feel ... Like, I feel sad. I feel sad because Susie didn't want to play with me today at the playground. And imagine holding that little girl and saying, it's okay. Yeah, of course you're sad. Validating and acknowledging what you're feeling, as opposed to saying, well, that's because you're stupid and you're ugly and no one's ever going to want to be with that. But as adults, we do that to ourselves.
Yeah.
We get ghosted on a date. After a date, you think you had a great time. You think you're going to hear from the guy or the gal, and then they ghost you. And you're upset about that. But on top of being upset about that, you start saying to yourself, it's probably never going to happen for me. I'm always going to be alone. What's wrong with me? Yeah. And that is what is so detrimental to actually moving through the current experience.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you for that. That was really good. And also, too, I think we treat thoughts as truth, and we really have to dismantle the thoughts that are actually true versus the thoughts that are just old narratives that we need to dismantle and replace with new, actual, true thoughts.
Yeah. Yeah. And so I think this is where journaling is good. Like if you find you're spiraling, is what I like to call it, then you need to dump it all out on a piece of paper. And once you're done dumping it out, you look for the feelings. You look for the I feel, I am. And that's where you need to learn to nurture yourself, to picture holding yourself and validating and acknowledging, because that's what a child needed. And by the way, that's what us adults need too. We need validation and acknowledgement of exactly what we're feeling, because it is what we're feeling.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh.
I love using the metaphor. As you could tell, I'm a metaphor whore. I love using the metaphor of there's an ocean of your emotions, and you need to learn to ride the waves. And so warming up to even get in the water. If you're a surfer, I don't surf, but our good friend Lulu is a surfer. She could attest to this.
Yes.
Before you get in the water, you would stretch, you would do something to warm up your body. You'd probably put a wetsuit in most parts of the world if you're going to surf. And that's the getting safe to be in your body. Let me actually get in my body to feel the sensations that are there. And sensations are the language of the nervous system.
Yeah.
So when we speak to sensations, what I mean by that is oh, I'm feeling angry and there's a tightness in my chest and it's hot and it's heavy. So when you start to name all the sensations that are showing up physically around the emotion that you're feeling, that's the first, that's like you dipping your toe in the water. You're signaling to your nervous system, hey, this is safe. Let's get in the water here.
Yeah.
But now you're in the water, and if you're resisting the current, if you're resisting the current wave, if you're resisting the current emotion that is actually there for you, you're just going to get smacked down.
Yeah.
So the whole opportunity is to learn to meet yourself exactly where you're at, not asking, not judging it, not asking, why do I feel this way? Why do I feel this way? Why do I feel this way? Analysis paralysis, that'll just paralyze you and you're just going to get smacked with the wave. Yeah. And as we learn to accept whatever current is there, we could ride it to shore in 90 seconds. So there was a Harvard-trained neuroscientist, Dr. Jill Bolt Taylor, that talks about that you can move through an emotion in 90 seconds if you're not judging it, resisting it, or running from it. 90 seconds is actually a long period of time for an adult to fully express an emotion. Now, a child, 90 seconds is normal for them. It's the parent that is triggered by how long that child is expressing that emotion. And so a lot of my clients that are parents, I tell them, I'm like, next time your kid is modeling to you how to feel a feeling again by being fully self-expressed in it with their body language, their facial expressions, their emoting some sound, just set a timer and watch and allow them to have the experience and notice that when you give them permission, and even better, cheer them on and say, yeah, it's okay. Yeah, it's okay. Feel it all the way. Feel it. That they'll be done in about 90 seconds. And if they're not done in 90 seconds, it's because they're riding multiple waves of emotions. They're, upset, but then they're also exhausted, and, then or they're angry. That there's multiple emotions that they're riding through, especially if you've told them all day long to be good because you're out in public or you're in a restaurant. So it's like they're stuffing down all these things. Then they come home and they have what you call a 5-minute tantrum, where for them it's just moving through, let's say, 3 or 4 emotions.
Yeah.
And so we get to learn how to ride the waves for 90 seconds the way a child would. And people ask me, well, what is it to feel a feeling? I'm like, express it as if you were 2 years old.
Yeah.
So stop using words and just give all your energy, your body to it. If you're an actor and you go in for an audition, you and the 100 other people in line for that audition have the exact same scripts, same words. The difference is how you express the emotions behind the word, how you act it out. So forget about talking about how angry or annoyed or sad you are, and just act it out so that you can win that role.
Yeah.
So what's the body language? What's the facial expression? What sound would you emote?
Yeah.
And set a timer yourself for 90 seconds.
Mm-hmm.
And you'll see, whoa, 90 seconds of acting this out. It's actually long, but it's also the perfect amount of time to retrain your nervous system for this energy. It's like programming that data in to your nervous system.
Yeah.
And, lastly, I'll say that the other thing that I find that people struggle with is not accurately knowing what they're feeling. We have a very limited vocabulary of sad, annoyed, angry, depressed. Like people always default to saying, let's say I'm sad, when are you sad or are you discouraged? Or are you disappointed? It's hard. And as you hear me say the other three, they feel a little different.
Yeah.
They would all be expressed a little different. If I'm a casting director and I tell you act out sad versus act out disheartened versus act out discouraged, there'd be a slight difference. And so there's a tool, there's a graph called the mood meter. You can Google it right now, pull up many images of it. It's from Yale University's study of like emotional intelligence, and it is a graph that expands your vocabulary. So I tell people how you use it is before you look at it, tune into whatever it is you think you're feeling. I'm sad, right? I like using that one.
Mm-hmm.
And then look at the graph and locate sad on it. And then look at the ones that are around sad and see if you could find the more accurate one for you. Now that you've found the accurate one, allow yourself for 90 seconds to let it be the star, to act it out fully.
Yeah.
And then check in. How do you feel at the end? How do you feel at the end of those 90 seconds? You'll feel one of two ways. You'll either feel like you landed on shore, like you're back to like calm, safe, expansive, open, or you'll feel like you hit another wave. Because sometimes one wave doesn't bring you to shore.
Sure.
Actually, you hit another one.
Yeah.
Sometimes underneath the anger is disappointed.
Yeah.
And so, another 90 seconds.
Okay.
And by the way, for some people, I know I've just talked about the quote unquote unpleasant emotions. For some people, it's the pleasant emotions that they don't allow themselves to bask in.
Yeah.
How many of you don't allow yourself to really celebrate, to feel the joy, to feel the calm, to feel the excitement? If you know you have a tendency to more wallow in the low pleasant stuff and you're actually happy about something, can you for 90 seconds really give yourself an opportunity to be fully self-expressed and act out happiness?
Yeah. I'm so glad you said that. I think that's a very important piece. Foreboding Joy was a partner of mine for years. And I finally started doing a thing where when I would feel the joy, I would turn on my favorite music and dance around at the house to my favorite music to allow myself to feel the joy, whatever that was, instead of having this waiting for the shoe to drop, moment where it was going to be gone, really naming it, basking in it. I did it last week when I got some news and I felt that feeling inside me and I turned on my favorite music, got my speaker out and I just bounced around the house for 15, 20 minutes But 10 years ago, I would have been like, even 5 years ago, as I was learning to do this, I would have been in that foreboding joy mode. So I'm so glad you mentioned that, because that's a very, this applies to all of our emotions. And we tend to think that it only applies to the hard ones. It applies to all of them, depending on what your background is.
Exactly. And this is why I used to be just serious. People were like, she's intense. She's serious. By the way, for those of you that know astrology, I have 4 planets in Scorpio. That's my excuse for my intensity. But that being said, as I allowed myself to be silly, to be playful, right? That's why now it's like the full spectrum for me. Like, yeah, I could be serious, but I could also really be silly and happy and playful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I love that. I love it. The nuance of it. Okay. How we can support ourselves and other women in living unapologetically. You do this beautifully now. This is something you have learned how to show up in, and you do it really well, really organically. Talk about your journey to getting there.
Yeah. I mean, guys, this is who you see today is a product of doing the inner work. Like, maybe I was born this way, but at some point I lost my way, as we all do, and forgot my essence, forgot who I really was, had low self-esteem, had no self-love. I was very codependent in all my relationships. I grew up in a household, God bless my mother, but her motto was think positive. And so there wasn't room to feel the quote unquote unpleasant emotion. She didn't realize how much she was gaslighting me or not training me to know how to hold myself and nurture myself when things felt not positive.
Yeah.
When things felt uncomfortable. And so I became the girl that didn't know how to nurture herself. And so I was very dependent on others to make me feel better. Whether it was always needing friends or dumping on my boyfriends in that way, basically not knowing how to be with myself. I couldn't be with that inner child.
Yeah.
Anytime I was with myself, I would feel so much anxiety and panic because I didn't know how to feel those feelings. So I would go into my patterns of freezing or people pleasing.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so the codependency, bled into romantic relationships, and then even my lack of belief of myself to be a coach, to have my own business. So I didn't start this business till I was 35. I'm 45 now. And so there was a lot of failed careers and relationships and codependency in relationships because I didn't know how to nurture myself, how to believe in myself, how to have any kind of self-love or self-care. And so what you're seeing today is to show you that there is hope for you too. You can overcome those things if you relate to them, and that it's not who you are.
Yeah.
It's what you learned to be. Either you learned it from mom and dad, or you learned it because you needed to survive. But the good news is that if you learned it, you can also unlearn it. You can become the editor. You can retrain your nervous system. And that's the work that I started doing. I've been in self-development for 20 years, but the first 10 years of it was I was trying to find the tools that would get me to a place of inner peace and freedom.
Yeah.
And a lot of my early work, and this is, also because where self-development was in the early 2000s or even prior to, was seminars that were mindset work, NLP work. There wasn't so much available like we have today of understanding inner child work and somatics and breath work and all the things. So it took me a while, because I was just trimming weeds for years.
Yeah. It's a great analogy.
And then I met my mentor about 11 and a half years ago. He was a body-mind psychologist. And that was my first introduction to inner child work, to understanding that it's all learned from mom and dad. And it was my first experience of transformation is not a walk in the park on a beautiful sunny day.
Yeah.
Meaning it's not go to a seminar and go to Tony Robbins and be like, woohoo, like hyped up and oh my God, I feel amazing, and going home. And that's not enough. It could make a few minor transformative changes in you. But the big stuff, the big weeds in the garden, so to speak, are like dragons in a burning forest that you need to slay. Yeah. Meaning when I finally worked with my mentor, I felt like I was feeling things that I never, ever thought were there to feel. The grief, the anger, the hurt, the sadness, so many things that I buried. And it was not comfortable. It was like a burning forest. Yeah. And, I had to slay the dragons that kept me, that kept me in this false identity.
Yeah.
But when I did that, on the other side of it, it was so worth it. Mm-hmm. It was what had me start my business. Is I just wanted the freedom and inner peace that I finally, at 30, what was I at the time? 34 years old, that I finally experienced after 9-10 years. I just wanted that for other people. And so when I started my business, it was just about that. It was called Journey to Love. And it was just about journey to self-love and to that inner peace. Yeah. And I never imagined I'd be where I'm at today, which is training other coaches, healers, or people that want to step into coaching in my method. Like having a certification program was never part of my plan, but it was my students, my clients that would say to me a year into business, I want to learn to do what you do. I've never experienced it before. Yeah. And 4 years later, I finally listened and started to develop it. And here I am 5 years later running my biggest cohort now, my 9th cohort, and seeing this method spread and seeing more people have access to that inner peace, inner freedom, and knowing that it's not just for people who had a tough childhood. It's not just about healing from your past. It's about equipping you to be resilient in the present and the future that's coming. Because you and I, Melissa, are both old enough to know that life does not stop giving you challenges,
right,
and opportunities for growth. And the only way that you can face those is if you are resilient in your nervous system. If you built that capacity. I can't tell you how many past clients of mine reach out to me years later and say, Anat, I'm going through the toughest experience in my life right now. And I'm so grateful you taught me what you did because I feel so capable. Like they don't need another coach or a therapist or anything. They're just like, I have the tools. I know what I need to do. And so I want to preface that because some people think that, doing inner work is just for those of us that had tough childhoods in some way, shape, or form. But it's also for those that grew up very lucky, very blessed. How resilient do you want to be? Because life is challenging and also very opportunist at times.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm so glad you pointed that out, that second half of because if you did grow up in a fortunate situation, great family, safe surroundings, all those things, that's great. It also may not have given you a lot of opportunities to learn how to process and move through hard things. And life will inevitably throw you some of those. So I think that's a really important point to make. These frameworks that I talk about here, that we bring on, that we provide, are there to keep you on track and support you when the bumps come, so that you've got something to fall back on. Yeah.
And they will come.
They will.
And it
1,000%.
will, whether it's even just like loss of a loved one or a pet or a job or like, as you go through big milestones in your life from being a girl that's like, I'm single. I would just like, if only I was in a relationship, then everything would be great. And then you get in a relationship and you hit the next level of challenges. Oh, but if only we got married, and then you get married and you hit the next level. Oh, and then you have kids, and then there's always something.
Yeah.
There is. And all of that could be handled with so much expansive grace.
Mm-hmm.
If you know how to work with your nervous system, if you know how to ride the waves, and it doesn't matter what size the wave is in the ocean, you know that you can come back to shore, or as I like to call it, the land of possibility.
Yeah. I love that. Oh, that's so good. Oh my gosh. Okay. You mentioned this earlier as being a key component in self-care and boundaries work, but coming back to your why and your values and everything you do. I always tell people your boundaries, your why and values, your expectations, they're all intertwined and they all inform what you expect from yourself, how you communicate that, if you communicated that. So talk to me about this. When did you realize the connect point between your why and your values to these other pieces?
I think as I was developing these modules inside of my programs for my students, like I have a whole module on boundaries with self. And it's like sometimes as we're creating this content, we're also checking in with ourselves. I think that's the beauty of being a coach, being a healer, is that it always keeps you, like every client you work with or every content you put out is also a message or a reflection of you checking in with, well, where am I at with this?
Yeah.
And so creating, module and like boundaries with self and then boundaries with others and coming up with all the teachings around that and then really seeing like, where am I with that?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. What's the why that really drives you in all of this? I think I know this, but I want to give you a chance to share.
Mm-hmm. Ending generational trauma. Yeah. And ending survival.
Yeah.
That people live at, fully expressed as creators, that we understand that heaven is actually on earth. And that we don't have to live in purgatory or in hell. We don't have to get stuck in that. There's a great chart that you can all pull up. If you Google levels of consciousness and pull up an image of it, you'll understand exactly why I just said what I said. Because it's a beautiful chart by, oh gosh, I'm forgetting his name. He also wrote The Map of Consciousness, Dr. Hawkins, I want to say. And in this chart, he shows that there's levels of consciousness. There's shame, there's guilt, there's anger, there's sadness, there's happiness, there's jealousy, there's all these things. And he also shows where these levels, these energies, the lower ones are ones of victim energy, are ones of experiencing life as hell, as purgatory. And what as you raise your consciousness, you move to places of what he calls the in-between to then heaven on earth. And that we can experience that. Yeah. And I really, my experience, having been in hell, having felt stuck for many years, even in the world of self-development in my early years of it to where I am now, is that when you learn to work with your nervous system, when you learn that being human is the full spectrum of all of our emotions, and that your only job is to let it flow and move and express through you. Yeah. That you can experience every day as more of that heaven on earth, and not just because you're feeling it, but because you're also not limiting yourself to go for the things that you want in life. That you could have more courage to take big leaps in your life, to leave a job that you don't like, to leave a relationship that you're not happy with, to start getting on stages, which was something for me in the past year that I set out to do. That looking back at myself, I'm like, who is this person? Like 5 years ago, I would have never had the courage to do this. To now doing a TEDx talk, to doing keynotes, doing all that, that you have more courage to go for the things that you really want, that create more of that, wow, I'm a creator. This is heaven for me.
Yeah.
Heaven on earth.
Oh, so good. Thank you so much for that. And we're going to have links to those things, the levels of consciousness, the mood meter. We're going to have links to that along with all of Anat's resources on our resources page on embracinglayers.com. So don't worry, listeners, we're going to give you access to all of that. And this really goes nice into living out of your own expectations versus others. You have created this for yourself, but you haven't always lived there. You talked about being a people pleaser and codependent. And when you're a people pleaser and codependent, you're allowing other people's expectations of you really dictate, but you've been able to transition that. Talk to me about that. We've heard a lot about it already, kind of around that, but talk to me specifically about just kind of how that feels when you're able to make that transition.
Freeing.
Yeah.
I think people think freedom, when people think of freedom, they think they need financial freedom. And sure, that's a bonus. That's great. But I know many people, I have worked with many people who have millions in the bank and they don't feel free.
Yeah.
They feel trapped. They feel depressed. They feel unhappy. And that ultimate freedom is the freedom to feel, acknowledge, feel whatever it is that you're feeling. That's it.
Yeah. And
that's the real freedom.
Yeah. You get to decide that. I mean, I think that's such an important piece because I think so many times, going back to that financial piece, you can really be imprisoned by that, because then there all of a sudden there's, you're living by other people's expectations around you of how you'll show up, what you'll do, how you'll live, all these things, rather than really checking in with yourself and like, okay, how do I want to exist within this? Am I communicating that to people? Do I know how to communicate that to people? I mean, there's so much in that.
And they get stuck in thinking, that whole thing of, well, I thought when I had all this money that I'd be happy. And it is a prison for some people, because the money that they have could buy them everything, almost, right? Anything. And they could hire I worked with one woman, she's formerly married to an A-list celebrity. So you could imagine, they really had access to everything in the world.
Yeah.
And when she started working with me, she was also had an energy healer, and she had a therapist, and she had therapist. And I said to her, if you're going to work with me, you need to pause on everyone else, because otherwise, the fact that you can have 10 people, every day you can talk to another, support system, but you're still thinking you're relying on them, on us to make you feel better, instead of understanding that the only way to feel better is to get better at feeling.
Oh, that's good. I like that. Ooh, that's really good. The only way to get better is to get better at feeling. Ooh, that's really good. I love that. You should.
The only way to feel better.
The only way to feel better. Thank you. Oh,
to get better
is to get better at feeling. Ooh, that's really good. Thank you for that. All right. And this goes beautifully into accepting the layered aspects of ourselves. You used the ocean analogy earlier, which I think was a really great analogy, and learning how to ride these waves and move these things through. I think this is an analogy we can use in accepting all the layered aspects of ourselves, all the pieces and parts of who we are that make up who we are. Some we love, some we may not. We have a tendency that we want to stuff the unpleasant things. There's maybe shame around them, fear around them, anger around them, sadness around whatever it is. But you cannot live in that state forever. We've talked about this whole time on this conversation, the fact that these things have to have a chance to be released, to be moved through, to be acknowledged, to have that. There was a word you used earlier that was so good. I'm drawing a blank now.
Expressed?
Yeah, that, and there's another word, metabolized.
Say,
That's what I was looking for. There we go. I kept saying it, and something to come up. But this is layers in a nutshell. And so talk to me about, your layers journey. You've arrived here in this space. So talk to me about that, just that ability to be able to process and accept and approach these layers with curiosity rather than judgment.
It's a daily practice.
Yeah.
Right. I'm still very much human. I catch myself in it as well. So, take me off the pedestal, but it really is a daily practice. And just like anything you practice, the more you practice it, the stronger that ability, that being the default, comes up for us.
Yeah. Thank you for that. So good. Yeah. I talk about that all the time. When I'm talking to women, I'm like, listen, I've got this framework and I've got a whole collection of women with resources that are going to help you live out each of these steps of this framework within it. But let me tell you, I do rely heavily on this framework daily, and I don't always make the cut. I have to sometimes go back and reassess. And, I do, this is as beneficial for me as it is. And it's also what motivates me to get it out to you. But yeah, I think it's so important that we share that we're all human, and especially with layers, they continue to evolve as we go through different seasons. We peel back, and there's more layers that expose themselves. But having those tools and framework to know how to live through that in a way that's healthy for us, is such a key component of that. All right. In summary, in living out F.E.E.L, finding empowerment, embracing layers, which is what you have really explained beautifully today. Talk to me about how this has affected your relationship with yourself as well as your relationship with other people.
Well, yeah, like I said, throughout this show, my relationship with myself is that I really know how to now be with myself, enjoy my own company, be in my body, slow down, say no, listen to myself, honor myself, stand up for myself. I can say I love myself.
Yeah.
And that was not the case for most of my life. My relationship with others is that I have more capacity, patience, and compassion for them.
Yeah.
When they are hijacked by their survival strategies or their emotions, and to really learn to hold the space at the same time, honor my boundaries.
Yeah, that's a very good distinction there. Hold the space for them, but also honor our boundaries, because showing up for people doesn't mean we take on their emotions. And so if you feel like you're starting to get to a state, it's okay to be like, okay, I'm starting to feel like I don't know of how much more I can help you or have to give to you in this moment because of where I'm feeling. Can we revisit this? Go back, let's take a rest, reset. I think that's just such an important piece of being able to separate what that means.
Yeah, I have a quick story here. When my husband and I got married, we got married in Greece on the island of Crete. And when we landed in Crete, it was after not pleasant flights and almost missing a connection in London Heathrow, worst airport to connect with. And so you could imagine that by the time we landed, got into our car rental, Like we were exhausted, we were hungry, we were stressed, like nervous system was definitely dysregulated. And I don't remember what it was that I said to my husband, but his response was, you could go stay with your parents tonight, because my parents also flew in then. We were getting married, I think, 5 days later or 6 days later.
Okay.
And if I didn't know what I know, if I didn't know what his survival strategies are, where he goes when he's overwhelmed,
Yeah.
I would have been very upset. And that could have spiraled into a huge, bigger fight and upset. And who knows if we would have made it down the aisle.
Yeah, exactly.
But instead, as I heard him say that, I said to myself, Anat, he hasn't slept in 15 hours. We haven't eaten a good, decent meal in about 6 or 7. We just had a stressful, almost missing our connection in London. He does not mean this. He is just that overwhelmed.
Yeah.
Good thing he's about to drop me off at my hair and makeup trial. And he could have some time to himself to regroup and reset, because that's what he needs. So I said nothing to his that comment other than, okay, honey. And then he dropped me off and, like, of course, texted me like 30 minutes later and said, hey, I found a great restaurant for us for tonight. So let me know when to pick you up. Picked me up. Was like so happy to see me, telling me how beautiful I looked with my hair all done and makeup, and we had a lovely evening. And yes, I stayed and slept with him that night and ended up down the aisle. So it's a perfect example of the capacity that we can have when we learn how to regulate our own nervous system.
Yeah.
And how to realize that not everything is personal, especially when someone is overwhelmed.
Yeah.
And to learn your partner's strategies of overwhelm, where they default to. And when you see them defaulting to that, don't engage with it.
Yeah.
You're no longer talking to them. You are not in a conversation with them. They are, my last metaphor for all of you is the inner child is no longer driving the car. Right? Like your higher self is no longer driving the car because you couldn't tend to this overwhelm or to this emotion.
Yeah.
And so your bodyguard said, get in the back seat. And your bodyguards took over. And we all have 2 bodyguards. Mine tend to either freeze or please, either dissociate from my body, leave the room, not even be here, or to be a people pleaser. For my husband, he tends to get either rigid, where everything has to be the right way, or he gets, aggressive and loud. And so I know when those bodyguards take over, like I'm gonna disengage.
Yeah.
I'm gonna let him go cool off. I'm gonna let him go tend to his little boy so he can get back in the driver's seat. So I think for most people, I know, unfortunately, most couples, most people right now operating in their day-to-day are not in the driver's seat of their life. And you can absolutely be successful in an area of your life with your bodyguards driving, but not fully fulfilled and not in all areas of life, or eventually that car comes to some kind of halt.
Yeah.
And so as we understand that more, which I teach a lot about that, oh man, it frees you up to not just know yourself, but know how to show up in your relationships with more compassion space. And like I said, times holding space for the other person, and at times knowing, not my circus, not my monkeys. This is my boundary. I'm going to step away.
Yeah.
And let this person come back to themselves, because we get hijacked by that amygdala. We get hijacked.
Yeah, I love that example, because so many times, and 10 years ago, 7 years ago, before my husband and I kind of learned these tools and how to communicate with each other, I would have just added on to that and magnified it instead of just like, all right, we're going to take a moment. I'm just going to walk away. We're going to let everybody settle and fill his cup. That is a game changer in how we engage with each other. It's a game changer. Yeah, 100%. Thank you. So good. All right. We're down to the rapid fire. Name 5 activities that nourish you.
That nourish me personally?
Yes.
Walking in nature. I live by the marina here in San Diego. I walk with my 12-pound vest every day. Walking out in nature, eating a stew or a soup. I'm a soup girl all the way, and recently got into congee, which is like a rice porridge. Yeah. So that nourishes me. Snuggles, good hugs and touch with my husband nourishes me. Conversations with my girlfriends, and playing with my nieces and nephew.
I love that. So good. 5 words on how you want to feel the next 6 months.
Grateful, excited, expansive, nourished, and supported.
I love that. All right. These will all be on our resources page at embracinglayers.com, but not tell people where they can find you and follow you. You have a training camp for the soul, which I absolutely love the name of that. Like that for me, like training camp for the soul. Tell me more. So that's just one piece of all of that. So talk to people about where they can find you, follow you, what you offer. And again, listeners, don't you worry. It'll all be on our resources page at embracinglayers.com. If you're driving down the freeway, keep driving. But I want to give you a chance to share that right now.
Yeah. So for the most part, I hang out on Instagram. If you follow me there, you will get a DM from me within a week, because I love getting to know the human behind the follower and seeing if I have a resource for you or a program for you or a referral for you or just a sweet note conversation with you. So that's where you can connect with me. We could actually chat. And as far as my offerings go, you can go to my website, trainingcampforthesoul.com. I have some great freebies on there. I have an upcoming retreat. I have my certification program for those of you that want to learn my method, whether you are already a coach, healer, therapist, or you want to step into that. And I also have my foundational program, the Soul Collective, which is just really for anyone that wants to go through their own inner child healing journey while being in a group program and supported weekly by me. So that's what I got.
All right. So much good information. Thank you so much for this today. Listeners, go back and listen to how Anat breaks down how our nervous system works and how you can learn to process these emotions and move them through. And that is a masterclass on how the body works, how our mind systems work, and how we can show up for ourselves healthy within it. Go back, listen to that, take notes, and really challenge yourself on that this week. Is there something your body will tell you when there's something that needs to be moved through, but you got to be willing to sit with it and put that 90-second timer on. It's going to feel like an eternity, but I love that idea of just staying present in that for the moment and allowing yourself. And it may take a few times because if it's new to you, so be patient with yourself. But that's my challenge this week is really, and sometimes let me tell you, if you would have told me 7-8 years ago that I lived disassociated, I'm like, no, I don't. I feel all my feelings. And I'm like, no.
No, I thought about my feelings a lot. I talked about my feelings.
Yes, that's
and again,
the distinction.
My freebie, Cultivating Safety, is a great place to start if you want to learn how to even get in the water.
Okay. Yes.
It's going to prep you, warm you up to get into your body to even see if you can feel those feelings.
Yeah, that's a great point because you might need a different level wetsuit. I'm going to give a metaphor now. My son-in-law is an avid surfer. He surfed in Southern California for years. He and my daughter moved to the state of Washington a few years ago. The water is much colder up there. He had to buy a whole new set of surfing gear in order to go in the water. So that's so you know, do this activity that Anat has for you is going to help you determine which maybe what you have already may need a little bit more. So I think so we'll end on that and that great resource. Thank you so much for being with me today. This has just been a treasure box and trove of resources and information.
Thanks, Melissa, for having me. Thanks, listeners, for hanging out, tuning in, staying with us till the end.
Absolutely. All of that. And thanks to our good friends at Podmatch. And we're going to shout out our friend Lulu Agan. We're going to let her know this is out in the world too, that we are all connected and know each other. And this is how, supporting each other unapologetically. This is how we show up and having these conversations and providing these resources and support for each other. Take good care and have a great day.
Hello, Melissa Crook here. Thank you so much for joining us on the F.E.E.L podcast today, Finding Empowerment, Embracing Layers. I hope you found today's framework and resources supportive and informative. To learn more about all that we offer here at the Embracing Layers Network, visit embracinglayers.com. You can go to our contact form to schedule me as a speaker for your next conference, workshop, or seminar. You can go to our book page to order our book that Jessica Garrison, our wonderful and talented writer and author, authored with my support. And engage with this framework in written form, with your journal, or in a book club with other women, inviting them on this journey with you. You can look at our resources page for all of the helpful and insightful resources our guests offer and share. You can find the schedule for our weekly Together We Feel women's panel conversations that we're holding each Monday on our YouTube channel. And you can find the links to all the spaces and places you can follow, engage with us on social media, and join our engagements that are happening on our Substack site. There is also a donation page where you can donate to support our work to ensure we can continue to bring you these incredible guests, conversations, and support. Thanks again for joining me this week. Share with your friends and give us a review on your favorite listening platform. Your feedback helps us ensure we're bringing you the content that will best support you and having an empowered, embracing layers journey. Take good care, and thanks for giving us some of your valuable time today. We truly appreciate you so deeply.